Honorable Maile. Hello, can anyone from the department vouch on the whereabouts of the MEC?
This meeting has been convened by me as Chief Justice.
Hello?
In terms of Section 51(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa.
Chair.
Mr. Jackson.
Hello, MEC. Have you managed to get to the meeting? Because
this meeting has been convened by me as Chief Justice.
Yes, as I was indicating, we are going to afford the department about 30 minutes to engage with the issues of Emfuleni. As we are all aware, Emfuleni is placed under administration. Sometimes last year, the department and the provincial government of Gauteng, led by Honorable David Makura, invoked what is called Section 1391B of the Constitution, whereby because of the inability of the municipality to fulfill its executive obligations under the Constitution, they took some powers from the municipality and that they appointed an administrator who is in charge of basically the municipality. Now, what we are going to do for the purpose of this meeting, immediately after affording the Honorable MEC an opportunity to address us, to update us on the status quo, on what is it that has happened since the invocation of Section 1391B of the Constitution, we will then allow the administrator to also have a word for about 5 minutes. And thereafter, I'm going to give His Worship, the Mayor, the Executive Mayor of Emfuleni, to also address us, to give us his perspective about the issues and in terms of what is it that they are doing as a municipality of Emfuleni. I will thereafter afford Saga, which is the associate body of all municipalities, to address us, to also share with us his perspective about the situation in Emfuleni, in the Val. That is how we are going to proceed. We're hoping that immediately after 7:15, we should be done with this particular meeting after a very long day that the members of parliament were engaged in. And I'm going to, thereafter we receive the presentations, I'll afford members of the parliament, all of them irrespective, to engage with the presentation. Without further ado, let me give over to the MEC if he's already there to address us on the situation at Emfuleni. Honorable MEC, good evening.
Chair.
Hello.
You're speaking to SIPO, the Parliamentary Liaison Officer.
Okay.
MEC is struggling to connect. I know that he has a problem of the network in his house, but he said I must let you know that he's trying to connect, but he's a bit struggling.
Where is the head of the department? The HOD.
The HOD is in.
Is in, yes. If the MEC will give us some political overview at a later stage because he's struggling to connect as you explaining to us. But over
yes,
to
Chair.
you, the HOD, take us through in the meantime that the MEC is still battling. I'm sure you understood what I said. We give you about 25 minutes or so to engage with us, and I want to reserve 5 minutes for the MEC, for the Honorable MEC. Hello? The parliamentary officer, liaison officer, the PLO, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here, Chair. I'm trying to check with the HOD.
The HOD. But you guys are from Gauteng, man. You should be better off than any other province. Most of the provinces,
I know, Chair.
Like we seem to be battling with you, Gauteng, now, and you are the heartland of South Africa, the economic hub. You should be far better than me, who is in Mafikeng in the Northwest. Can you imagine? How far am I?
Let me try and link up with the HOD chair.
Your Worship, the mayor, are you there? The mayor of Emfuleni, are you there?
These people, they seems to be not ready, yeah?
Yeah, Gauteng, and we are not going to waste any time if we find ourselves in this situation. As I indicated, members of parliament had a very, very long, protracted, much involved day from 9 o'clock until about 45 to an hour ago. And I can
Chairperson, the TDG, who's the administrator, is here. TDG Bila, the administrator in the department, is here. But I see MEC is coming through now.
No, the MEC is there. I can see him. He's appearing.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm surprised that you're complaining about the long day and call a meeting on Friday at 6. We have had a long day ourselves.
No, I'm not complaining, MEC. I'm never complaining. You just arrived in the meeting. I've given the background and the context of what.
No problem.
It was a very long day for members of parliament, I must say. But we are energetic. We are very energetic. We will work until very, very late.
Order.
No, I don't need any order, Honorable Zuki, so it's okay. Let's proceed. I think we must proceed. We will deal with issues as they come. As I indicated, Honorable MEC, I prefaced my contribution in this meeting by indicating that we are going to follow a particular line for the purpose of this meeting. We are going to afford you an opportunity for about 30 minutes together with the administrator to deal with the issue of Emfuleni, to explain fully to members of parliament why did we invoke section 139 and what is progress to date in respect of the measures that you took as the provincial government. And based on that, we'll take a way forward in terms of engaging with the administrator as well as the executive mayor of Emfuleni about the issues in Emfuleni. And based on that, I will afford members of parliament to engage with the issues as you would have presented. We have already received your presentation, and I'm sure members of parliament have read the presentation. And over to you, Honorable MEC. You can then take us through those particular issues.
Yeah, no, thanks. Because you have seen the report, there's no need to go through it in detail. It was sent before. And I think the issue we'll have to discuss anyway, because we were told after we had approached you that, in fact, because the intervention was not stopped, it's just that it was not properly done because of the elections previously and all that. There was no need, which is the response we received from the Minister Lamini Zuma when we wrote to ask for a similar concurrence. He said, but the intervention has been there. What we must do is to provide an update of how far, because there were decisions that were taken 2018. And one of the decisions that was taken was that we must alert we must alert or rather report on a quarterly basis to both the NCOP and the minister. And last year, because there were elections and how the intervention was done, for instance, when the administrator was appointed, the same administrator was made an acting city manager, which was one of the problems that occurred at the time. And that's why there were a number of weaknesses. So though there is, if you look at the report, there is some progress since 2018 but the municipality is still not out of the woods. And I would ask maybe the administrator just to take you through the report quickly, because this administrator is actually new, he's a week in office. As I'm saying that there was a problem in how the decision was implemented, and that is the main issue, I think, for me. And the fact that the municipality is still not out of the woods, the municipality is still owing Scorm, I think about 2 billion. It's still owing Rainwater about 600 million or so. But you'll see in the report that there is some progress, because previously they used to take the money meant for conditional grant and projects and pay for operational costs and all that. But we're still not happy with them. But maybe for purposes of completeness and formality, I'll ask the administrator if they can beam the report, and then he takes you through those specific areas in 10 minutes, not 30 minutes, and so that we have enough time to engage with the committee. That's my suggestion.
Yes. Yeah. Before that, you were saying the administrator is new. And
yes.
When did you appoint the administrator?
Remember the decision? I think 2 weeks back. It's a week or so. Yeah.
Okay. What happened to the old administrator? Because you placed this municipality as a provincial government on the 13th of June 2018. It's more than 2 years now. And yes, before the new administrator speaks, you need to give an account to us what happened to the old administrator and what happened during that period. I think it's quite important.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining, that the intervention was done wrongly. We appointed an administrator. That administrator was also made an acting city manager. And then when the city filled the post of the city manager last year, I think December, he left because he was now operating like a city manager. He was never an administrator. So that's what I'm saying, it was done wrongly from the onset in 2018. So, and now the municipality has a city manager. Then we brought the administrator. Fortunately, the administrator is in the department. He's a DDG. So the reason I'm saying he must present, he's now presenting as Comte previously in terms of what would have happened and all that. But in his new role now, to help us with the assumption of the responsibilities, the 3 areas that we have identified, he's new, but he's not new in the department.
Okay, I understand. We'll take it from this fine. Let the administrator address us then. Okay.
Okay.
What
DDG, are you able to present that? Yes, take us through.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson of the committee, the Select Committee, and good afternoon to the MEC and all honorable members. I'll briefly just set out what was achieved by the previous work streams. The first work stream that was established in the previous order on the intervention was financial management and viability. This is what they achieved to date. The Committee on Budget Monitoring and Controls was doing great work in ensuring that the expenditure juxtaposed to the revenue collected so that we did not end up spending what we did not have as a municipality. In the 2019-2020 budget, which was compiled, it was in line with the 2018 and 19 financial year adjustment budget, and targets were reviewed for realistically anticipated revenue and expenditure trends. The 2018-19 financial year, for the first time in the history of Emfuleni, the municipality did not utilize conditional grant to fund operational expenditure, which was the order of the day before. This is continuing even in the 2019 and 2020 financial year. In the 2018-19 financial year, medium-term review revenue and expenditure framework was rebased in line with the principles of an affordable expenditure envelope and realistic revenue projection. The 18-19 MTRF was radically reduced by 400 million with realistic revenue projections. The same principles are utilized in the 2019-2020 MTRF. We implemented a process of procure-to-pay system, which enforces an ordering system of payment. This ensures that the departments spend budget within the available resources in their respective boats. In other words, each and every department then has what one can call a cost center. This system was implemented in December 2018. However, there was internal resistance to change, and we had to conduct a workshop in order to make sure that user departments were online with the new system. The municipality is in the process of drafting a cost containment policy that will be presented in due course. The municipality has decided at the moment to appoint a service provider to conduct an in-depth tariff review that will be applicable in the 2020-2021 financial year budget. The Integrated Revenue Management Forum has been established and is currently chaired by the head of revenue. The revenue and implementation of revenue credit control tariff, three basic policy and engendered policies have been approved with the adoption of the budget. One of the significant milestones is the change from allocation of the 30 kiloliter of free water to 6 kiloliter as per the National Indigenous Policy. Past years, the municipality had only one service provider that did the meter reading, reconnection, disconnection, and monitoring. This had a negative impact on the credit control governance and segregation of duties. As from 1 October 2019, the municipality appointed a panel that deals with meter reading, separate panel that deals with disconnection of water, electricity, and a separate panel that deals with reconnection. A separate service provider that conducts monitoring and evaluation was also appointed. This segregation, we are certain, will give a positive impact in terms of revenue collection, as there will be competition among the contractors. The process of appointing a municipal valuer for 2020-2021 is in the process, and the organizational development is assisting with the process of establishing an in-house governance system. The appointment of Section 56 managers has brought stability in the institution. It is only the executive director for infrastructure who has not, or technical services, who has not as yet been appointed. Under municipal governance, again, Gauteng Comte has appointed a firm of attorneys to assist the municipality with the assessment of current labor matters, including but not limited to suspensions and awards against the municipality. Governance structures in terms of the LLF and MPEC are in place and are functional. Council consisting of multi-parties is able to sit on a monthly basis to pass resolutions and provide oversight over the administration. Development and implementation of internal controls that is intended to lead to the reduction of the UIF as well is also in place. In dealing UIF, I mean unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. In dealing with corruption in the institution, the municipality had to institute forensic investigations from an independent forensic company of forensic investigators. The matter is lying with MPEC at the moment, and a report with remedial actions is still to be tabled in a council sitting. All Section 56 managers at the moment have signed performance management agreements, and the municipality is now cascading this to levels 2 and 3 in management. On a quarterly basis, reports are considered from departments on the service delivery budget implementation plans. And under municipal basic services work stream, the following has been achieved to date. All electrical related works, including but not limited to MCCs, level controls, overload protectors, high mast lighting, and general lighting are in progress. The scheduled pump stations under the water and sanitation infrastructure grants have been cleaned. The remaining pump stations will be cleaned under the intervention funded under the RBIG. Implementing agent appointed was ERVAT. The pump station 10 was cleaned under the ELM internal operations budget. We are all aware that by now ERVAT has now been terminated by Department of Water and Sanitation, and Department of Water and Sanitation is in the process of appointing a new service provider in the place of ERVAT. Replacing of leaks in Sharpeville to eliminate extraneous flows within the sanitation networks is being done. To date, 1467 households have been retrofitted under the program out of 1,600. Progress has therefore increased from 90 to 92%. The project has 13 locally qualified plumbers. Emfuleni has serviced 80 pressure reducing valves and installed remote monitoring devices on the key pressure in reducing valves. Maintaining PRVs is an ongoing process managed by the municipality using its own internal teams. Large power users, 56 properties have been audited in Powerville. Under public participation, the municipality has functional ward committees in Emfuleni. Their effectiveness continues, though, to be a challenge, because I'm certain that about 17 of them have not been that much functional, and only 25 were functional as at the date of report. To address these challenges, Comte is building the capacity of municipal officials from the Office of the Speaker. I can also mention that in the current ward-based war room approach, this municipality is doing very well in terms of, activating their war rooms in the wards at the moment. The capacity focuses on the development and application of practical strategies on an asset-based approach to stimulate active asset-based community-led development around what the municipality does. The approach will be tested in 3 wards and will be scaled and replicated as confidence and positive results grow. The project will be co-delivered with the University of Johannesburg over the next years. However, we had challenges in the implementation of these or the functioning of these work streams. And let me indicate that the only work stream that has been really at work here was mainly the finance work streams. The other work streams were very, very poor. The next challenge has been poor revenue collection, cancellation of certain contracts, overdue outstanding contracts like creditors of Scorm and Water, lack of maintenance and upkeep of municipalities' assets, unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, and a delay in filling some of the senior management positions. Sewer spillages, we know that they've been continuing. Electricity provision interruptions, especially in those areas where Scorm is supplying, have been the order of the day, but also due to aging infrastructure in that municipality. Lack of meters in most of the former black townships, some are damaged, and the pollution that we have already spoken about, significant backlog and refused removal, landfill space as well. Various municipal grants were withheld due to low expenditure and non-submission of new projects, and lack of knowledge and capability in the municipality to implement the tools of effective public participation. In the report, we also have a program of action, which we have now developed as the Office of the Administrator. This program of action is going to address most of the issues that we have identified as challenges. The program of action, Chairperson, is based in alignment with the B2B pillars, the 7 B2B pillars. It's around good governance. We have identified pending litigation cases, which take a lot of money from the municipality, consequence management, as well as reporting of criminal cases, civil cases that have been taken against the municipality and for the municipality, the fraud and corruption cases that have not been finalized, We are also going to assess contractual obligations. In fact, some of the work we're already busy with Scorm, as well as Rand Water, in order to assess some of the contractual obligations that were entered into between the municipality and Scorm previously. We will also assess all fraudulent and irregular and unauthorized contracts that were entered into, with a view, if we find that some of these contracts were not supposed to have been entered into, we'll certainly approach the High Court for declaratory orders to have them declared null and void. We'll also address all the AG's findings from the year 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and will come up with an implementation plan and remedial actions in addressing those matters. We also intend to roll out a communication strategy in order to inform the public and the community and the residents about this intervention and the support that the province is now bringing to the community, but also to seek support from faith-based organizations, business associations, and other relevant stakeholders in the community. We also intend to deal with basic service delivery, the interruption of key infrastructural projects, ailing and collapsing electricity, wastewater, and roads infrastructure. That has been the order of the day there. We are also addressing non-revenue water and electricity losses. In fact, in that area, there has been an appointment of a project manager in the establishment of a PMU that is looking at all infrastructure projects, as well as the involvement of the private sector, like DPSA and other private sector institutions around the issue of funding and other proposals that are being made to support the ailing municipality. We'll also deal with the issue of sewer spillages in the Vaal River Pollution Intervention Project. And here we hope to work together with Water and Sanitation, work together with MISA, and will then finalize and facilitate the appointment of an implementing agent to proceed with the outstanding work done by ERVAT. But obviously, we need to ensure that we are in alignment with what is happening at Water and Sanitation at National, because they're in the process of appointing a service provider after the termination of the work of ERVAT. Under sound financial management, this municipality has always experienced unfunded budgets. We have to ensure that this does not happen. We must develop a fundable and realistic budget in line with the MFMA regulations. We also need to turn around the municipality financially. We will develop a financial strategy to strengthen credit control, debtors collection, and payment of credit. We must also ensure implementation of financial systems, policies, and procedures. We also need to revive work streams in the FRP that was previously established. We must also assess all existing contracts and categorization thereof, and ensure that we deal with poor revenue collection by strengthening revenue enhancement plans, as well as ensure proper implementation of the Property Rates Act, including the municipal valuation role. We'll also ensure that there is adherence to proper and acceptable supply chain management processes. Under spatial planning, we intend to work in a coordinated manner around planning so that we adhere to the SDF, IUDF, GGT, which is the Growing Gauteng Together, as well as the district development model towards the one plan. We must ensure that our IDPs are therefore aligned to all those authoritative directives. We will also deal with the issue of township establishment, which has been hindering progress in some of the areas like Everton and Sebokeng. We also have the Everton renewal project, urban renewal project, which was abandoned. We have the view that this must be revived in order to have development in the area, but also to create more job opportunities and to revive investor confidence in the region. Under LED, I've already stated that the Gauteng provincial government has appointed a project manager for the City District Revitalization Program. So we'll be working with him closely. And in fact, we've already started working with him in order to address the high rate of youth unemployment in that area, which is in the region of about 45%. Under building institutional and administrative capability, we are faced with a bloated organizational structure in the municipality. We have to ensure that we try and trim it down by going through a strategic planning session, have a service delivery model, and ensure that we review the organizational structure so that the organizational structure is in line with the organizational strategy. But of greater significance is to ensure that there is strict adherence to approved municipal human capital recruitment policy. There's another big problem of delegations of power of authority in that municipality. We have just established, in fact, that there is chaos around the issue of delegated powers of authority. It appears that it is not even reviewing. We need actually to develop delegated powers of authority of the MM and Section 56 managers and any other person who might be in the supply chain management or the finance division. We also need to develop delegated powers of authority of the administrator to be signed off by the MEC for Comte. There has also been a problem of council resolutions that they have not been implemented for a long time. We need to review a register of council resolutions, ensure implementation of all outstanding council resolutions. There's been a fragmented approach on service delivery implementation. We need to develop a comprehensive municipal turnaround strategy for the municipality. Around change management, we have discovered that in this municipality, obviously with all these problems, overcrowding the municipality, the staff morale has been very low because LLF resolutions have not been implemented. So we need to strengthen the functioning of the local labor forum in that municipality and undertake change management exercises. We also noted that the organizational culture has gone down, and this has impacted negatively on the productivity of the employees, as well as human capital diligence and commitment. I've just seen this afternoon something that says that 1,200 people have been benefiting from, financially from that municipality, that they are still being paid for by the municipality for Liberty Life insurance, pensions, and so on. Those are all the things that you'll see that there is just chaos in the municipality. We will be delving with all that. We have today presented this program of action to the executive mayor and the MMCs. Our MEC has already approved this program of action. We have been instructed to go and break it down, working together with the municipal manager and his Section 56 managers, so that we are in a position to break it down on weekly targets, and so that we are monitored every Monday by the MEC and the mayor in terms of progress on our operations as the Office of the Administrator, working obviously together with the municipal manager and these Section 56 managers. Thank you, Chairperson and MEC and honorable members.
Yeah, so Chair, before you come in, the point I was making, which is, I think, the fundamental question, you can see there is some work that has been done because the then administrator stroke city manager brought some energy, and there was a CFO who was also brought by Treasury, and he ended up being appointed as a CFO. So this became consumed into the municipality, and they became employees of the municipality. And hence, we could not move as fast on these other issues the way we were supposed to be. So based on our Tshwane model, the recent intervention that we're making, and you would have seen in the meeting that I could not attend, the amount of progress we made in Tshwane. And the reason why we could make so much progress is because We have weekly targets and we get weekly briefings. So we are hands-on. We don't just leave the administrator and his or her team to just run on their own and be consumed by the bureaucracy of the municipality. So if we were to ask what will we do differently this time around, that's what we will do differently amongst others. And that's why we said to the team, you've got this program. However, we want this program to be broken down into a weekly a program of action so that we can monitor it as such. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable MEC and the administrator. Where is the mayor? Is the mayor around?
We were not asked to. We were not asked to bring the mayor.
No, we have extended an invitation to the mayor as well.
Yeah, but not through us.
Yeah, it's fine. Boss, where is the mayor? The executive mayor.
Chairperson.
Yeah.
Chairperson, the memo
Yes,
sent to the department. Chairperson.
Yes.
Chair, the memo sent to
Yes.
the department. The memo sent to the department was quite clear that the committee will also appreciate if the department can extend invitation to the mayor, as we did, central coordination. It is quite clear, Chair.
You invited the mayor via the department as
Yes,
you
Chair.
do with all, as you do with all other provinces.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Honorable MEC, it might have been an oversight, but as you know, we work via the departments, the provincial departments, and they help us to coordinate with municipalities. This is the 5th province that we are engaging in the last 2 weeks, and this is how it goes. But if there is no one from Emfuleni, this is something that we will look at the end of the meeting, based on the engagement that we have with the department. Having said that, can I move over to?
Yeah, I'll read your letter again properly, Chair. I'll read your letter again properly because I was told the administrator, but anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
No, it's okay. We will. The executive mayor is not part of the meeting. It is because of that miscommunication or misunderstanding or whatever it is. It's okay. But as I pointed out, how we engage with provinces, we do that via the provincial departments. But it's okay. Let's move on with the meeting. I'm now going to give over to honorable members of, well, no, before that, sorry, excuse me, to give over to Saga. Saga, as a national body, will also reflect on the issues of Emfuleni because they have a footprint all over the country, in all the provinces of our country. Over to you. I've seen Lens, and I've also invited Honorable Stofile to be part of this meeting. Can I afford you an opportunity to address the Select Committee on the issue of Emfuleni, please? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's Stofile here.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will just make 2 issues, and then I will ask Lance just to run quickly on issues that we have picked up and which we feel to share it with the committee. The first thing, Chair, which I want...
Before that, Honorable Stofile, do I see you correctly that you're wearing a hat? If that is the case, remember that this is an official meeting of Parliament, or just mute your video so that we don't see you, if you don't mind, before you address us.
No, I took it off, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you very much. No, it's understandable. It's okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm saying, Chair, I will raise 2-3 issues, very brief, and then Lance will then raise a number of issues that we have prepared and to distribute our contribution to this meeting. Will do so as per your directive, if you feel that it is important. Chair, I think that we must accept in our own analysis as associated, we are seeing provincial government intervening to itself here. For the fact that in the opening of the MEC explained that in 2018 there was somebody through the Executive Council of there that was sent as an administrator. That somebody acted on behalf of the provincial government. 2 years down the line, there is no detailed report in terms of what that administrator did in the last period that he was there. And now the provincial government says, oh gosh, we've made a blunder and we've failed ourselves, not the municipality, ourselves, was administratively, it was our function. And it will be important for us to go back to the terms of reference of that administrator. What was the mandate of the Executive Council of Gauteng with that administrator? And why that administrator, through provincial government, failed to perform and produce a detailed report of his role in turning around the municipality as was aspired to by the provincial government. That is one issue. The second issue is that there's this debate, and probably it will be very nice if we can understand it properly. There's this debate that says the intention of the provincial government in Gauteng to do what they are doing, failing to perform their duty, the intention is to usurp the local government powers as enshrined in the Constitution. And this is a worrying trend if it happens in the way in which it's happened. Because everybody is going to be sent without completing the chapter and producing a detailed report so that an handover report is able to be interrogated so that you understand whether the new challenge is going to the future. What are you intervening to? Those are the two most important issues that we need to be looking at and to be careful as we navigate through them. In our view as Saga, I think the intervention that is made by the provincial government in that municipality, really, it creates some serious problems, legislative and legal problems to that effect. As I've said to that issue. With that, I know in the platform chair, I'm joined by also Councillor Ngubane and Lance, and then I will think that let me hand over to Lance and just walk us through on those issues. And if Councillor Ngubane want to say something, we'll do that through your permission. Thank you very much.
Who's Councillor Ngubane? His designation and relevance to this meeting?
Councillor Ngubane is a member of the National Executive Committee of SALGA.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I understand. I just wanted to establish whether he's a councillor who is in Emfuleni. Also give us his perspective. It would be quite useful. But if he's accompanying you, he's free to participate and to make a contribution. I just wanted to establish that. It's okay.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Lance.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and also greetings to members of the committee. I also want to extend greetings to the MEC and colleagues from the COGTA department provincially. I also see that the DG of COGTA is present with us today. I thought, based on the inputs made by Councillor Stofile, I would limit myself to 3 slides, Chairperson, but perhaps to indicate that these 3 slides are as a consequence of a meeting that SALGA had with Emfuleni Municipality. So we convened a meeting on Friday last week. It was also followed by a meeting with the SALGA provincial leadership on Saturday, and last night there was a meeting of the National Executive Committee of SALGA, which spent quite a bit of time on the issues that impacts on Emfuleni. And as a consequence of those discussions, Chairperson, and the current difficulties that the municipality finds itself in, there are 3 main concerns that are being raised with the letter that the MEC has dispatched both to the municipality but also to Saga on the 8th of June, communicating the appointment of the administrator, preambled by what is said to be challenges that the municipality is experiencing. There are three issues that are being raised in the main. The first one relates to the status of the Section 139 intervention. And here we are referring to the 2018 June 13 intervention as was decided by the Executive Council of Gauteng. The question we had, which we now heard the MEC had responded to already, was in what capacity was Mr. Nkwane appointed at Emfuleni? We are now clarified that he was appointed as a municipal manager, acting, and then also took over the responsibilities of an administrator. Now, the NEC of Saga reflected on that matter last night, and it is clear that it's very problematic because in its nature, an acting municipal manager is appointed by a municipal council, is accountable to that municipal council, and executes the responsibilities of an accounting officer being a municipal manager. Whereas an administrator is appointed by the provincial executive, is accountable to the provincial executive, and acts in terms of reference that would have been given to that administrator. So it is problematic where a single person is acting in both of those capacities, and maybe that's why we are where we are today. But it is seriously problematic. What the NEC was also inquiring about is what progress has been made by this administrator, while now we can add acting municipal manager, since the 13 June 2018 intervention. We want to know what progress has been made because that should assist us in answering many questions around the status of Emfuleni. But also there is reference made by the MEC that the term of office of the administrator / acting municipal manager ended in February with the appointment of the municipal manager. The question we also are asking is, so what happened to the intervention since February 2020 to date? So from February up to June, what has happened with the intervention and what is its status? The second broader concern that the NEC of Saga has relates to what is referred to the desired outcome of the Section 139 intervention. The MEC is reaching a conclusion that the intervention has not produced the desired outcomes. Now, the question that the NEC is asking is what informed that particular conclusion that is being reached? Is there a report that is available that outlines, firstly, what were the expectations of this administrator and how has he executed against those expectations on the intervention? So we are quite keen to understand on what basis has the conclusion been reached that the desired outcomes had not been achieved. Secondly, on this problem is because this municipality has been under intervention since 13 June 2018, what was the municipal council as well as the administration's contribution to this particular result that the desired outcomes has not been achieved? And why we're asking this question is because we have noted the terms of reference of the new administrator taking over all executive obligations and functions of the council, taking over the function of the administrative heads of the municipality. So we're asking the question, how have they contributed to the extent that they are now being dethroned essentially through the appointment of the administrator? And then the last question there on the second area is, how is this new administrator going to produce the results that could not have been produced in the last 2 years of this particular intervention? But the third problem, Chairperson, relates to the notification itself that has been sent. We have raised the point on the earlier slide on we would like to see an assessment and as well as the status of the implementation of the financial recovery plan. I think what was presented to us today is not an a status of the implementation of a financial recovery plan. It is throwing around what are indications of a potential financial recovery, but yet there are questions posed as well, because that would have informed a review of this intervention. So we're quite keen to know what that is. But also, Chairperson, what are the legislative obligations that have been identified that this municipality continued to fail to execute? Because there should clearly be a link between the terms of reference of the administrator and those executive legislative obligations of the council as well as the administration that is now being taken over. So the broader question we would want to ask, Chairperson, is two years later, what is the continued relevance of the 2018 intervention, the plan that was introduced, and what progress has been made to date, so that we can take an informed decision, or at least an informed stance that indeed things have changed. Certainly in our interaction with the municipality, they are painting a different picture. And it's not a picture of crisis. It is a picture that indicates that there are challenges, but not to the extent that the powers of council as well as the administration must be taken over. In fact, Chairperson, this is the last slide. We would want to propose a different approach to what the province has put on the table, and in fact is executing. Our approach is that if we really want to solve the problems of Emfuleni and assisting Emfuleni to execute its constitutional mandate, it does require a proper assessment of the 2018 intervention, including the status of the financial recovery plan. That particular assessment must then assist us on identifying what are the challenges that Emfuleni continues to experience, how should we respond through actions to those particular challenges, and what mechanisms must be used to support Emfuleni. And that is what we would want to table as an alternative approach to what we feel is an assertion of the powers of both the council as well as the administration in Emfuleni through this new appointment of an administrator. So that is exactly what the NEC has mandated us to advance on behalf of the municipality, but also on behalf of the collective. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Lance. It's quite clear.
Can I also come in, Chair?
Distracting us quite badly. I think it's Councillor T. Councillor, member of the NEC, you want to also have a bite?
Yes, Chair, just a few minutes.
Over to you.
Chair, I think we disagree fundamentally with the approach of the Gauteng Executive Committee. In terms of the approach, I think the solution that you're coming up with is not a product of concrete analysis. Chair, we're of the view as Saga that...
Listen, before that, there's someone who's distracting us very badly, and he keeps on doing. To all our invitees and the guests, can I sincerely request you that you must switch off your mic or you must mute your gadgets when you are not on the platform. It's only the speaker who's on the platform and myself as the chair of the meeting who's allowed under the circumstances to be on, because we are the ones who are busy. Please, 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 I beg you, the guests, don't disrupt our meeting. You can go on. Thank you. Proceed.
Thanks very much, Chair. As the SALCA were of the view that the approach employed by the Gauteng Executive Council is that the solution is not a product of concrete analysis of concrete condition. It's more idealistic in the approach, in its orientation, because it does not depart from the reality. One, the state of affairs, in other words, the challenges as they are presented by the Executive Council. The majority of the issues were there before 13 June 2018. The issues that relate to the finances, the issues that relate to maintenance and service delivery, they were there. The issues that we're talking about now, in June 2020, the issues were there before 13 June 2018. These are the very same issues that led to the Executive Council intervening in Section 139. Even in their report, they have said they started with 154 intervention of giving support, but it did not yield results. Then on the 13th of June 2018, they then intervened through Section 139. They made a diagnostic analysis of what are the factors at play. They then developed a plan whose action should actually attack the root causes that gave life to the challenges that were there in Emfuleni. As part of the plan, they also developed the terms of reference. You came as the NCOP, you agreed with them in terms of their analysis and the action plan that was going to turn around and transform the situation for the better. And therefore, the administrator was then sent. And this administrator was executing the task on behalf of provincial government. So the first question that we then need to answer, has the 2 years intervention produced the result? If not, who has actually failed? And why? And again, the fact that we have not made, we're still talking about the state of affairs, that the infrastructure is collapsing and all the issues that were there before the intervention. But we have not received a report that does not tell us about the state of affairs. That goes below the surface and then say, what are the underlying dynamics and factors that are at play that breathe life to what we see on the surface? So if we have not done that diagnostic analysis, the 2-year intervention, why it has not produced, why it has failed to go to the root causes. And on the same token, you come back, and now when you come back, it is different. You now take the powers that were not taken in the first intervention without you demonstrating what has been the contribution of the council as a part in the totality. We have not demonstrated that. We have also not analyzed thoroughly why has the administrator representing the province failed? Because that should be our starting point in now generating solutions in terms of what needs to be done to transform the problem situation, the current problem situation. Now, our view is that we're just throwing around the solutions. The very solutions that we talk about in 30 June 2018. Now, you now come back, you take over all powers. Technically, the council is disbanded. Technically. Because if you zap all executive powers, it means it's non-existent. Technically, it is disbanded. But we have not demonstrated what has happened what has been the role of the council as a part, how it has actually contradicted the work that was done that seeks to improve the situation.
I think we've said a mouthful. We've understood you quite correctly. We've understood where you're coming from and your context. I think it's okay. Don't belabor too much on the point. It's okay.
Thank you.
We've heard you very well. All right, thank you very much. Honorable members, over to you. I now afford you the opportunity to engage with the presentation and the submission from Saga.
Mola, please, Chairperson.
Honorable Mola.
Yes.
Mpaela.
Mpaela.
Nita.
Ryder, if you would indulge me, please, Chair.
Yes, 4. Yes. Number 5. Sandamela 5. Let me take the first 5. Yes. Honorable Mola. It's okay. I'll come back to those who have not spoken. It's okay. I take the first 5 hands. Honorable Mola.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation of the department and the Saga. Chairperson, I don't know if I heard the MEC correctly when he said they have done the intervention wrongly.
Yes, he said that.
How can they do that, Chairperson? My second question is that Mr. Nkwane was appointed as an administrator whilst he was acting as a municipal manager. When they appoint Mr. Nkwane, didn't they know that he was an acting MM at Emfuleni? How can they do that, Chairperson? My third question, Chairperson, is that they said for the past years, I don't know how many years, when they said they appointed a service provider for meter reading, connection, disconnection, and the monitoring. How can a service provider be a referee and a player, Chairperson? Can they give clarity? My last question is this, Chairperson. In their 2 intervention, what progress did they make up to so far? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mpaela.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Actually, my comment would be, Saga today, they proven to be a good association of local government. Their presentation was well structured, was well clear than any other presentation. I must thank them upfront, Honorable Chairperson. You see, they've covered me in many questions. My main problem is that the Honorable MEC, he has said it in passing that the first administrator that they employed there was employed wrongly. I think Mr. MEC must really take us through as to how he was employed wrongly. Secondly, how much as taxpayers' money was spent to that administrator who was employed wrongly. Thirdly, these 2 years that municipality was under Section 139, that admin who was employed wrongly, is this not the outcome of him being employed wrongly? That this thing took 2 years under Section 139. I want that to be clear, Honorable Chairperson, because as far as I know, once a person was employed, he needs to be get a salary. That means even a salary that he was getting a salary wrongly. So I just need that input from the MEC and his team. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Nita?
Thank you very much, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you very much. Good evening, Chair, my colleagues and MEC and Local Government Association leadership. Chairperson, my input first, I'm doing it very comfortable because in this presentation, the office of the MEC and the DG, it doesn't say a word, Chair, about the challenges that they have experienced from council. There was no problem for them to implement their own plan, which they have set for themselves in terms of the mandate from the date of starting section 139. There was no resistance. That's my first comfort, Chair. But Chair, I must say, having said that, looking at serious challenges that they have outlined, which have serious implications in terms of service delivery, because they also talk of unauthorized and irregular fruitless expenditure totaling to 2.2 billion. And remember, Chair, this thing happened within their time in that particular municipality. And the fact that there was resistance, they are not saying it. Who resisted for them to be able to implement consequence management? I would like them to respond to that. Who resisted? Because it's them that were there. And Chair, you know, we are the policymakers. We are the custodians of legislation. To hear an MEC saying to us as this committee, they have implemented wrongly the intervention, for me, it's a very serious problem, and it's an indictment on that institution. Chair, where on earth have you ever had an administrator that get to change within its term of administration into a city manager? Can they tell me exactly which law were they using to do that? Because in terms of all the legislations of my land, I never ever heard of that. Chair, I mean, in agreement with Honorable Fayela, when he said this time, the Association of Local Government have seriously surprised us in which they have given Emfuleni Municipality. Their report, what makes me comfortable about it, they have consulted the municipality, they've consulted the office of the MEC, whatever they are presenting to us tonight, recommendation, it has input from all those critical stakeholders in that municipality. And I'm saying, therefore, Chair, let us take serious the recommendations that were tabled by Saga, because they tend to give us a kind of a way forward in terms of the quagmire we find ourselves in. It's the first time in my life as this member of parliament in this committee to get a report that is confusing and serious, having a legislation flaws like the one that was presented to us tonight. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Raida, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you for indulging me. First of all, I want to agree. I think Saga's done a fantastic job tonight. I want to acknowledge that. The fact is that we're dealing with a municipality that has had 3 mayors and now 2 administrators in the last 4 years. There's massive instability and a severe lack of leadership. For MEC Maile to come on board and say that he feels that there's been major progress and that there's weekly meetings is actually an admission of his own failings, because frankly, the lived reality on the ground for many people within the municipality is not a good one. There has not been any major improvements in the lifestyle of people. So look at the people of Everton and Sebokeng, who have spent 4-5 days in the last week without electricity. Look at the fact that the army was called in to come and deal with the sewer leaks, and they have found that, well, there needs to be 6 billion rand more inserted into the municipality to assist and to stop the sewer from flowing into the Vaal River because of years of neglect. But the fact is that there isn't really a plan to deal with that. So I have a number of issues that I want to ask. There was the issue of the smart meters was specifically raised, and I want to ask about that, because what we're finding now is that there was a smart meter rollout in many areas. It was implemented. Something went horribly wrong. Now meters are being bridged, and people are being given average readings, not really sure how much electricity they're using. Let's bill them for a little bit that we think they're using, etc. What's the plan to get out of that? I mean, bridged meters just cannot be something that continues. I've spoken about the sewer leaks already. Collections, the debt collection is just not happening in the municipality. If we can get an indication as of July 2018, what was the outstanding debtors compared to now, you'll find that the debt burden of the or the debt owed to the municipality has almost doubled, because the municipality has not been collecting what's owed to them. Refuse collection is just not happening. It's kind of once every 2 weeks. Lucky dip, they send out a message to say, we might collect your refuse tomorrow. Electricity, I've already spoken about the regular protracted outages. Eskom arrears. Eskom threatens regularly to cut off the electricity to the municipality, and then there's suddenly a scramble to try and see what can be done. There's a big debt owed to Rand Water as well, and Rand Water has been throttling supply, which meant that the people in higher lying areas are not getting the water that they're supposed to get. What's the plan with the arrears on electricity and to Rand Water? There's been strike action by employees. The fire department has gone on strike. We really can't have that. Refuse has gone on strike. There's been sewage spills in municipal offices, which has meant that the municipal workers have gone on strike because their own colleagues are not doing the work that they're supposed to do. What frightened me the most, Chair, was the fact that they said that this is the first time that the municipality didn't use conditional grants to fund their normal operational expenses. That's a scary, scary admission, and something that we need to hear a little bit more about. And the fact is, this municipality was captured, much like the country was previously captured, and I'm wondering how many contracts Saga still has in the provision of services to the municipality. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Raida. Honorable Zandamela.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me also join the other honorable members and commend Saga for their presentation today. I must say, if Saga can do such presentations in all the interventions that we go to, we shouldn't be sitting where we are in terms of the problems that we encounter with our municipalities. But Chair, without the gentleman from Saga, they've covered almost everything that I wanted to ask. But I've got one thing that I want to direct, the question to direct to the MEC, that there's been an irregular and wasteful expenditure since their intervention in that municipality. Can he please explain? Because my understanding is we can't have irregular and wasteful expenditure when you are when there's an intervention, because the intervention is to correct whatever that went wrong and all those kind of things. And lastly, Chairperson, I would like to say this thing that I've been listening to the presentation, the appointment of service providers and all. It's a known fact. We know this kind of things. That all administrators, when they go there, all that they do is to appoint consultants. And this is where we're having problems. Consultants, and how much did they spend to those consultants? Because they've been appointing consultants. But at the same time, in the municipality, you've got Section 56 managers. What are these managers doing? Because obviously, if you are a Section 56 manager, you've got people that work under you in your department. But on top of that, the administrators, they come to the municipality in the interventions, they appoint service providers. So this way of looting, it must come to an end, Chairperson. I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I take the rest of the members who want to make the contribution? I know that Honorable Comte, and who else wants to speak?
I was the first chair.
Who?
Sileku Baba.
Oh, yes, Honorable Sileku, and who else?
And Honorable Mutamai.
Kenny Mutamai, Honorable, and who else? Is that the last three? Yes.
Yes.
Let me start with you, Honorable Mutata.
Mine, Chair, is very short question. I've never heard of a report like this before. What report is this, Chair, that they are giving to us, and what do they expect us to do with such a report? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sileku.
Oh. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm not in the committee. What I would like to know is that when did the MEC, realize that his predecessor made a wrong intervention? When did he realize that what is happening in Emfuleni was actually incorrect? And how long did it actually take him to correct it? Because if you look in terms of the terms of reference, it's almost like this was the first intervention. There was no intervention in that municipality. And also, Chair, what is also lacking is...
Just hold on. I'm picking up the name of Bongani Kilisha. Can you, sir, just mute your mic? If it is Bongani Kilisha that I know, my deputy president of Sansco, if you're the one, please just mute your mic, comrade. Okay, so thank you very much. Proceed, Honorable Sileku. Sorry for that.
Yeah, Chair. Okay, let me go to the next point. Chair, I hear in terms of their presentation, they say the LLF or the forensic report, it's there by, it's lying with MPEG. What I would love to know is that for how long has that report been lying there with MPEG? And when was their last council meeting? And when was their last MPEG meeting? And also in terms of the budget for the new financial year 2021, is that budget funded for, or is that budget unfunded? Also, Chair, what is also lacking and which is of concern to me is that in our engagements, we are leaving out a lot of stakeholders. For instance, the mayor is not here, and we don't know. There are questions that we would like to pose to him directly or her directly, but they are not here. Also, in their report, they are also saying that there is a MM in that municipality, a municipal manager. But now we are talking about the issues of that municipality, but the accounting office of that particular municipality is not here, And also, I want the MEC to tell us, was he aware when he started in 2019 that for every intervention there must be quarterly reports submitted to the NCOP? If he knows that, why did they not do that? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Mutamai, you are the last speaker.
Thanks, Chairperson. Kratole Wuha report ya Salga. Then keep put why a mayor asata mopile haruna and can understand why MEC administrator was employed wrongly. If we are more
o ya mo boitumelo gone mo Emfuleni ga o ya mo boitumelo there's a clinic is no gore ga ena electricity go small farm there's no water batho ba teng ba shota ka metsi ga ona metsi total clinic ya boitumelo go sebedisiwa generator then ke ba le bothata because why ga ona metsi masole na le mo a tlisitswe masole mo masole a tsamaile jwang because we rona tseba gore masole na le mo ba go tle yang gore masole a tsamaya ke ntho e tsa no yana e be le gore ga gona metsi go ke bothata mo then MEC why MEC hasn't really fell apart? There's no municipality where Emfuleni municipality issued I intervene the way I intervene at Tempo go to the municipality because there's no municipality. I want to say I want to MEC, I want electricity, even today. Everywhere, but what you said the time, but what you said the about because of there's no municipality.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutsamai. I want to give over to the MEC and the administrator to respond to the issues as raised by both Saga and the honorable members. But before I do that, I want to confront the MEC so that he must also clear my mind about some of the issues that my honorable members have raised about the situation. This municipality was placed under administration in terms of Section 139B of the Constitution in 2018. And after it was placed under administration, a report was submitted before the NCOP, that was during the 5th Parliament, and that report was endorsed by the NCOP, meaning that the NCOP approved the intervention by the Gauteng provincial government. And I read that report as part of the legacy report that was presented before the 6th Parliament in respect of the work that we need to do. Now, Honorable MEC, part of that report encapsulates the fact that you needed to submit the quarterly reports before the NCOP. And in my record, I remember last year there was a report that was submitted before us, but other than that, there was no report whatsoever that was presented before the NCOP. Now, during this meeting, you say to this committee, the select committee, that one, the provincial government has not intervened correctly. And it is only 2 weeks or a week ago that you are appointing a new administrator to deal with the situation of Emfuleni. It means 2 years after an intervention was made in Emfuleni. It's only now that you realize that there are problems, and these particular problems requires a change of the administrator. And how you're doing it is very much interesting. It is that the previous administrator was also a municipal manager. We all know that the Constitution enjoins us that once a provincial government places a municipality under administration, it must appoint an administrator who acts on behalf of the provincial government until the administration is lifted. In this particular instance, for me, and I want you to make me sit in a comfortable situation, that to me, this is a gross violation of the Constitution itself. That you, as a provincial government of Gauteng, you appointed someone who is a municipal manager who must act on your behalf. And in terms of our understanding, in terms of the Municipal Structures Act and the Municipal Systems Act, and a municipal manager is a person who's appointed by a municipal council. And I wonder why it is only now that after 2 years that you realize that you did a wrong thing. And I'm raising this particular point because in your own admission, in the report that you present before this committee, you say Emfuleni owes Scorm about 2 billion rand. It's a lot of money. It owes rent water, but more than 600 million rands. It is a municipality that has accumulated the fruitless, the irregular, and all these other expenditures exceeding more than 2 billion rands. And my question is, when all of these things happened, where was the provincial government? Why didn't you do what the NCOP requested you to do, to submit a quarterly report, so that there must be some early warning signs that you are not doing what it is expected of you and that you are not achieving the objectives that you set for yourselves when you intervene in Gauteng, in Emfuleni? Because for me, what is clear is that a provincial government intervenes in a municipality because there are problems. Because that municipality, in this case, Emfuleni, it cannot fulfill its executive obligations under the Constitution. Then you intervene because you want to arrest this situation. Now, 2 years down the line, it means, simply put, you place a municipality 2 years after it was elected democratically by the people of Emfuleni. This is a democratic government in the context of Chapter 3 of the Constitution that deals with cooperative governance, that no sphere of government must encroach to the other sphere of government. Now, you intervened 2 years ago, and now 2 years later, you come to us and say, we want to continue with this kind of an intervention that we failed to do in the last 2 years. I want you to answer me this question, Honorable MEC. If I put it to you that actually there is no intervention here, for the first time that I've dealt with this particular issue, I see a situation as complicated as it is in Emfuleni, because clearly who is being failed here? It is the people of Emfuleni who have democratically elected a municipal council, who have democratically elected a provincial government to serve their interests. But it becomes very clear that their interests are not served. And for me, it is quite important because I concur with what the other honorable members have said. Actually, when Saga was speaking, it was like, I say, let's close this meeting because Saga has nailed it, has said all the things that needed to be said. But I want you to respond to this committee in relation to the questions that we have confronted you with, to say this is the situation and this is what we do and this is what we have failed to do. Because as far as I'm concerned, if I'm sitting in this committee concurring with what Honorable Mteto is saying, there is no intervention. Simply put, the provincial government of Gauteng has failed the people of Emfuleni, and it has failed to do the right things at the right moment when it needed to intervene and ensure that it arrests the situation so that there is service delivery, there is infrastructure development, there is good governance, there is financial feasibility, and everything that needs to be done by a municipality. And as we speak now, there had to be an intervention by the South African National Defence Force because of the area itself was polluted from a solid waste point of view. There had to be all these numerous interventions to salvage the situation of Emfuleni. But sitting here, I'm confronting you with all these particular issues because out of this particular meeting, as the NCOP, we are going to take a decision as to whether is there any intervention in Emfuleni or it is not. Because as you are aware, we are a final arbiter when it comes to these particular issues. When we review an intervention and we are not satisfied, that a provincial government is not doing what is expected to be doing, that it is failing the residents of a particular municipality. We are empowered by the legislation and the constitution to make that intervention and intervene in a way that must satisfy the people of those particular areas. And in this particular instance, based on what members have raised and confronted you with all these particular issues that are a serious concern to them, I also want you to respond to these particular issues, because based on that, it must enable us to make a proper decision about what is it that needs to be done under the circumstances, having taken into consideration what Saga has presented before this committee, because also that particular point, it cannot be taken light. And I want to give you over to you, Honorable MEC, to respond to those particular issues as such. Thank you very much. And over to you, Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let's welcome all the questions and the inputs by members of the Select Committee. We want to start by saying that, and that's why when we spoke, we never spoke about our predecessors and all that, because we understand that we are the successor in law. But obviously, we assumed that all the members of the committee understands that in 2018 there was a different team there, but we're not going to use that as an excuse, because I wouldn't know why there was a deployment of an administrator, and the administrators made the municipal manager. And that's why, as time went by, it didn't make sense, and we had to say it has to be done differently because it had its own weaknesses. So that's the first point we must make. And the second point we must make is that we understand Section 139, subsection 1, A, B, and C, and we understand that this municipality was under B, and B means resumption or assumption of certain responsibilities. So for Saga to suggest that they use the word we usurp the power of council and the municipality. It's not true. I think maybe it's also the question of interpretation about the letter that makes them to be fired up and even label the provincial and problematize the provincial government in how it deals with municipalities. And I charge that that is from a misinformed position. They have not engaged with us. Maybe if they can engage with us, we don't have a problem if they have issues about one or two issues in terms of how we manage this issue. So I think I must raise this issue and chair, because I want to respond to each and every individual. I think it's very important. So the issue of Saga in terms of its characterization of the Gauteng provincial government, we would want to engage with them further. The letter that we have written, when we say the administrator takes over the responsibilities of council and of the mayor in relation to the areas, the three areas that the province is assuming responsibility. Because when you read the letter and you look at 139, we can't take, as Salga says correctly, we can't take the responsibilities of council. And it's the same question we raised today when we met with the mayor and the mayoral committee, because they've raised that issue. In fact, after we wrote the letter, the mayor called, then subsequently he wrote the letter, and there were many other issues that I would not venture into. I had a discussion with the mayor and I have explained, and I even said to the mayor, it's fine. I can even write you a letter explaining what that means, because you can't. See, Salga is giving us its own interpretation. that you are taking over council. And even if we wanted to, we don't have that power. So we can't give ourselves the power we don't have. And we can't be projected as being reckless and we don't know what we are doing. We know what we're doing. And that's why you've got section 1, subsection A, subsection B, subsection C. In Tshwane, we are in C. In Emfuleni, we are in B. So I want to come back to that issue of the municipal manager and the, and the administrator. So I thought I should raise this misconception of Saga of creating an impression that we don't know what we're doing. The third issue I want to raise, Chairperson, maybe it's a function because I read your letter. And by the way, let me say, your letter did not ask us to invite the mayor. The mayor was invited directly because I read the letter. So I was being moderate earlier on. So I read the letter. And one of the things the letter says to us, we must report on what, so the letter is instructive and it tells us, it gives us the framework. What is it that the NCOP wants us to report on? Progress since 2018. So members says, including Saga, we have not made an analysis about progress. We don't understand the conditions on the ground and all that. I mean, I'm tempted to take you through the report myself, item by item, because members are saying no, nothing has happened, the intervention failed. And I'll come to that issue because you are asking specific questions, Chair. So I'm tempted to believe that some of the members did not read the report, because if you would have read the report, you might differ with the fact that the intervention was effective or not. But you can't say nothing has happened. So I thought I should raise that issue. The second issue, and maybe this is in line with the Saga presentation. So the Saga presentation says, what were the TORs? So we can provide those TORs, is not a problem. But as I said, that maybe this is a function of a template and a framework. We were asked to present a specific, based on the specific framework, which we stuck to. So we obviously know, and I'm glad that the chair has read the previous report, and obviously deals with the framework. So I've dealt with the issue of Saga saying we are usurping the powers, which is not true, and I will challenge them to expatiate further, and we can have a discussion with them. And then the issue of Mr. Nkwani, the reason, and this is important, I said myself when I started here, and maybe I've used the wrong word, because when I'm saying he was wrongly, the decision, not open one. So this is important. I never said the municipal manager or the administrator was wrongly appointed. No. The decision to intervene was not properly, and maybe not use the word wrongly, was not properly implemented. Because as you say correctly yourself, that the administrator is appointed and accounts to the province. And the same administrator can't be the employee of the municipality, which was the case with Mr. Nkwani, which was the case. So when I arrived in June last year as an MEC, there was that intervention, and I found, and obviously I had to understand the space. What does it mean that you've got an administrator, you've got this, and over time, because there's a member who asks here, when did you realize? Over time, I could deduce that there's something wrong, and we have to deal with this matter differently, and make sure that, because already Mr. Nkwani was a municipal manager, so what it meant is that automatically he had ceased to be an administrator. So there was that vacuum, and I will come to the issue about the effectiveness.
Just hang on, Honorable, let me see, just hang on. I had Honorable
Yeah.
Zandamela wants to say something.
Yeah, Chairperson, I think I'm gonna go back to what Honorable Mchatwa said earlier on.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not happy with the explanation that the MEC is giving. I know that you want to give them some time, but I would suggest, Chairperson, that you know what, the committee will have to, on its own, decide on the issue of Emfuleni. I don't think we are being assisted here. Earlier on, you started with the issue of where is the mayor, where is the other stakeholders from that municipality. We couldn't get an answer. You even said it yourself. It's done like that through the province, that they invite the municipality and everyone. But in this case, it was not. It has not happened. Even the answers that we are getting to the MEC, we are not satisfied.
Chair, can we respect
MEC,
each other,
MEC,
Chairperson?
Yeah, but
No.
Honorable, let me see. I'm sharing the meeting.
Okay, I'll
Please
come.
just
It's
understand
fine. Okay, Chair.
Yeah, it's a point of order, and I must rule on that point of order and allow me to chair the meeting, please. I'm listening to Honorable Zandamela as he's wrapping up. Honorable Zandamela, are you done?
Yes, Chairperson. That's
Yes.
my concern, Chairperson. I should think
Yes.
the committee must look at another way. Even if we have to go on an oversight to Emfuleni, because honestly, what we are looking for here, we are not going to get from this meeting. Thank you.
No, let me rule on that. I want us to give the Honorable MEC an opportunity to explain and give responses to the questions that we confronted him with. Because what is the bottom line about all of this, MEC? And please, when you respond, you must just bear that in mind. What is the bottom line is that 2 years down the line, you request us to extend the intervention that in the balance of evidence, it doesn't show that it has worked. And so many, and let me be blunt with you, so many unlawful and wrongful acts has been perpetuated by the provincial government of Gauteng. Now, I want to give you that opportunity so that tomorrow it mustn't be that we overlook that. And, you know, in your heart, I just really want you to understand where we're coming from and why with members, irrespective, cutting across, including Saga, raise concerns in the way that they are doing. Because this is quite important and we need to extricate this municipality from the morass that it finds itself in. And I want to, when you respond to these issues, just bear that in mind. And I want to give you all the time sufficient opportunity to deal with these particular issues as raised by the members. But just bear that in mind. Thank you very much. You can proceed on.
No. Thank you, Chair. We are not. We don't have a problem of engaging, Chair. We will, and that's why I want to respond to all the issues. And
is that another point? Just a bit. Is that another point of order, Honorable Mtatwa?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
It's a request. It's not that the MEC is out of order, but it's a request. It's a request through the chair to say, look, Chair, we have read this report. It has been witnessed by the presentation. I think, Chair, that as a committee, we need just to sit down and analyze this report by ourselves. It needs nobody to come back and start to respond to such a report. That's why, Chair, I've said, you know what, look at it in terms of service delivery, it's been compromised. Look at the debts, it's too high in this municipality. Almost everything has collapsed. Therefore, this thing, it needs a report that we were supposed to get it quarterly. No report was coming forth. So why do we need some explanation there and there? Meaning, Chair, it's high time that let's give the chair to command us and asked us to submit our own observation about a municipality of this nature. It's the first time, Chair, to get a municipality at this level, like this one that we are talking about today.
Okay, no, okay. Honorable, let me see. I'm going to sincerely implore on you not to respond to all the questions. Just give us an overall view of the provincial government of Gauteng in relation to the issues as raised, because as you had listened to the issues raised by the honorable members, they are all the same. It's one thing, is that there is a lot of unlawfulness, lot of deviation, non-compliance in terms of the law and the constitution, and that there is nothing that has come out of this particular process. Just looking at what you said from the beginning in your presentation, the challenges that you outlined regarding the municipality, just give us, in short, give you 3 minutes, in short, give us the totality of the picture and the view of the provincial government. Because I think based on what is transpiring today, we are going to sit on an agency basis as a committee to develop a view about Emfuleni and the provincial government of Gauteng.
No, Chair, I don't have a problem with your ruling, but I think it's important that we respect each other because we are invited to present, and then in the process we are asked questions, and there are a lot of inaccuracies, which I think it's only fair that we are given a chance to respond to them. And the members of the select committee can make their determination. We don't have a problem. We respect that. But I think for me, Chair, it's not proper that a whole range of issues have been raised, and we are told not to respond to them because the committee is still going to sit. A member says, because, for instance, let me start with this issue of irregular expenditure. I mean, we are being accused of irregular expenditure. It's not as if that irregular expenditure started with, and I thought that members will know that until it's regularized, it becomes cumulative. I mean, we can give a proper detailed report. How much was it when we came in there? I was not there, yes, but I know because I've read all the literature. So to say the province came in and there was wasteful expenditure, where were you and all that? That's one, it's inaccurate, that's one. Two, the debt of Eskom. I think before the province came, it was 2.3 billion or so. It's sitting at 2 billion. Let's analyze it. What constituted? The bulk of it is interest. There has been progress made and all that. So I don't want us to deal with the, inaccurate reports based on assumptions. Because I can tell you now, if we don't engage constructively and properly, members will live with that understanding. And that's what I want to provide so that, and I'm not saying we have done well, the intervention was effective. No. I'll come to that point.
Honorable, let me see with due respect. Honorable, let me see with due respect. And I've been very much patient trying to understand where you're coming from. What honorable members are saying is what I'm saying. We're dealing here with a municipality that is in crisis. When you appear before this committee, you need to respond to the questions. You need to give us explanations. You are obliged to do that. You need to explain to us what are the issues, and all these issues that now you are covering. You were supposed to cover them when we gave you the ample opportunity. What we are saying to you, Honorable MEC, is that irrespective, we have confronted you with all these issues, and we have said to you that given your presentation, given the background that we're coming from in respect of this municipality, given what you have presented before this particular meeting, given what Saga has said to us as honorable members, there is a case to intervene decisively here. But just when you supposed to respond to these issues and concerns, which in my view, as a chairperson of this committee, I think that these are genuine, serious concerns that must be answered. But sitting here, I would tend to agree with members of parliament that would rather stop these engagements with the understanding that we have, because we afforded you and your administrator the opportunity to address us. You have addressed us. We have listened to you. We have heard what you've got to say to us, and we've raised whatever issues that we've raised with you, including the concerns. And for us, in terms of charting a way forward, we need to hear from you, given what is transpiring and the concerns that we're raising. Where to? How do we salvage the situation? How do we extricate the municipality? How do we solve the problem? Because it cannot be right that Emfuleni finds itself in this particular situation with no proper intervention, and that we are told after 2 years that this is what has transpired, and we have begun to change 2 weeks ago and replacing this and that and correcting the whole situation. After all, you are like us, Honorable MEC, in this position. You were appointed last year, the same time that we were also appointed as members of parliament. And these members of parliament, Honorable MEC, make no mistake, they handle 253 municipalities across the country. They deal with these issues every day of their lives. It is their daily life, including irregular expenditure, all this expenditure. They deal with all these particular issues, municipality per municipality, province per province, and just based on that, they have accumulated a lot of experience and knowledge in terms of how they handle these particular issues. And Gauteng is not an exception to other provinces. We engage with all the provinces, and as I said, this is the 5th province that we are engaging in the last 2 weeks on the same issues, on the same approaches, and expecting everybody else to comply and follow what we are requesting you to do. And I must say that all other MECs have helped us in terms of dealing with these particular issues. And here we are stuck, and we need to solve this particular issue. Let me give you the last time. If we don't have a common understanding, I think I'll have to close up this particular discussion and map a way forward in terms of what is it that we need. Over to you once more, Honorable MEC.
Yeah, Chair. Am I allowed to respond to the questions?
Yes.
Can I continue? Okay,
yes.
Thank you. So I was still busy with some
yes, but
issues.
I'm saying in the way that I've determined, I've ruled, I've said to you, give us an overall picture, because all of these questions are the same questions, more or less.
Yeah.
Give us a whole impression about the situation, and I give you 3 minutes to do that so that we round up, Honorable MEC.
Yeah, well, let me respond first, then I'll come back at the end. As I was saying, Chair, there's a lot of inaccuracies in terms of how this is understood. And like I've said, and this is why I started with the question of the template. We are told this is what we must report. We're reporting on that. And if there's additional information we can provide, for instance, how much was the debt of Scorm when the municipality was, there was an intervention? It was 2.3 billion, whatever, it's sitting at 2 billion. What has happened? We will do that. Secondly, the issue of irregular expenditure, wasteful, fruitless, we can provide that information to show what was the difference then and now. Thirdly, the issue of corruption, what transpired then and what action was taken then. But fourthly, because of this weakness, which I have alluded to say there was a weakness in how the intervention was made, but it doesn't mean there is no intervention and there was no intervention. And by the way, the intervention was also read in line with Section 154. And that's why when the member says, what did you do? When did you realize that there's a problem? We had been implementing 154, and in fact, the municipality and the mayor, and it would have been good if the mayor would have been here, because Him himself has said we need the province to come, especially on issues of supply chain. There was a question asked, who was resisting? Those people, for instance, in supply chain, in finance, who were doing the wrong things, were actually, at the forefront of that resistance. So the solution not based on conditions on the ground, for instance, it's not true, because if you go to Emfuleni, and I would agree with the member who says maybe you need to do a visit there and interact with all the stakeholders, including the mayor and the mayoral committee and others, and I think that could help. But there is an issue about, for instance, I think it's member. I want to respond. I want to pick up issues of that are inaccurate. For instance, the member who says we never said we are having weekly meetings in Emfuleni. We actually said we have started implementing that model in Tshwane, and that is why in your last meeting with Tshwane, you would have seen, because the intervention that we are making in how we are making it is bearing fruits. We are having weekly meetings with them. We said we want to replicate this in Emfuleni. So it is important that it is understood. The 6 billion rand sewer, for instance, the deployment of Sandaf, all of it is part of the intervention. And that is why the sewer problem in that area, national government decided that we must work together, because it's bigger than Emfuleni, it's bigger than Gauteng. And in fact, the spillage comes from about 3 or 4 provinces. And that intervention is part of that, and we are participating in it. So it should not create an impression that there was an intervention on top of the intervention. No. It was there. The biggest weakness with the intervention was this issue of the acting NM, or the administrator having ending up as an acting MM. There was somebody who was brought by Treasury, for instance, to deal with finances. After some time, he applied for a job. He was made a CFO, and that a vacuum has been there. We agree, and that's why we are saying we have to close it and we have to make it effective. And then there's a member who says we appoint consultants. We didn't appoint any consultant. If the member has read the report, Chair, and I take serious exception, because in the report it says the Comte province, Comte, the department, not the municipality. We didn't appoint any consultants through the municipality as Comte or through the administrator. And then now we are being told about the looting and all that. And these are the issues I'm saying, Chair, we must clarify and put into context. So Comte in the province did that. And then there's an issue about, the other stakeholders I won't deal with the issue about.
1 minute left, Honorable MEC.
1 minute left. Yeah, but anyway, Chair, I think you call the meeting when you are tired on Friday, and then you raise the whole range of issues, and then
MEC,
you raised a whole range of issues that I want to deal with, Chair. No, but we must respect each other as well. No, you can't do this. No, now I'm put under pressure, 3 minutes, this and that. Let's rather have a proper discussion. No, Chairman, please don't do that.
Honorable Chair, let the
bottom line is that, and I'm saying, wait, honorable members, wait. Let me see. We have heard you, is enough. I think you have insulted us, but it's okay. I think
no, I have not insulted you. I never insulted you. I will never insult the committee. When I say you are tired, it's not an insult.
Yeah,
but I've never insulted you. It must be on record.
Order.
Honorable Maida, don't display arrogance in my meeting, please. I'm saying that we have heard what we've got to say.
Thank you.
Gave you the time to speak to us. We received your presentation in advance. We read your presentation and we afforded you ample opportunity like we do with all the provinces. Last week, KZN presented 8 municipalities within 30 minutes and we accepted that, for example. And in this particular instance, we accorded you more time to give us a presentation and to give us a situational analysis about Gauteng. I think we have heard that. Whatever concerns that members have raised, they're okay. I think we must stop there. When I started with this meeting in your absence, when we were still battling to get in, I indicated to the meeting that we have had a very, very long day, a very protracted day that started at 9 o'clock, and we only had about 45 minutes to break. And immediately when we broke, we got into this particular setting because the IT also requires more time to adjust and to be in this particular situation. And that members of parliament have worked throughout. Nevertheless, this is the work that is before it. It is on a Friday evening and we are ready to engage with you in the same way that we engage with other municipalities and provinces. But that engagement must not be frivolous, must not be vexatious, must not be an engagement that doesn't help us to go anywhere. Now, this is our meeting, the meeting of the senior committee that we have invited you, and we have invited you to give us whatever information that you've given to us. And from where I sit and I make that ruling as a chair, that we are satisfied. We have heard you. We have understood where you're coming from. And based on what we have, we'll sit down as a committee and develop a view about Emfuleni and about the provincial government of Gauteng based on the information that is at our disposal. And I can tell you now that we as members of parliament, we meet at different levels, including in the study groups, where we engage with presentations of this similar nature before we get involved and engage with the relevant people. And it will not be any correct to say that some members have not read this and have not read this, have not done this, have not done it. I don't even want us to go there. On those bases, honorable members, I want to say that I want to suspend this engagement. Having listened to the MEC and the administrator and Saga, and heartily thank the MEC, honorable MEC and the administrator for appearing before us. We will sit down as a committee and make some reflections about this particular meeting, what happened in this particular meeting, because we've got a record of this particular meeting and we have the report that was presented before us and formulate a view in terms of what is it that we think needs to be done. The bottom line in my view is that whatever that we do must be to the best interest of the people of Emfuleni, to the stakeholders and the players in Emfuleni, to ensure that this municipality becomes a proper developmental municipality that confronts the challenges that it is facing, that it ensures that it deals with issues of unemployment, poverty, and inequality within Fillet, that it addresses the infrastructure backlog, that it becomes a municipality that functions very effectively to the benefit of its own residents. This is what we are doing. And as Parliament, we are going to continue to do our oversight work. We are going to engage with the executives, those who are in authority. We are going to ask them simple questions, but we are also going to ask them difficult questions. We are going to ensure that whatever that we do it unhindered and uninterrupted, and in a way that ensures that we restore the respectability of Parliament and ensure that at the end of the day, we achieve our own objectives. On that note, I want you to allow me, as I said, thank everybody who attended this meeting and heartily thank all of you. And as I indicated, I think we will have to resume next week to just specifically come as members of Parliament to discuss this particular situation in Emfuleni, so that, as I indicated, whatever that we do it in the best possible way and to the best benefit of the people of Emfuleni. On that note, thank you very much. It's Friday evening, Have a good weekend. See you next week. Thank you very much. The meeting stand adjourned. Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah, rest well, Chairperson. Rest well, rest well. Being tired is not an insult. You must rest. It's important.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
DC is out of order.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Waze wageza MEC.
Ah,
Umuntu wenu.
Thule Sileku.
Umuntu wenu.
Quiet.
Ngimamela kumnandi. Ziyajika izinto.
Hey, keep quiet.
Yesu wethu mlamu wela sifate. Mlamu wela sifate ngurema ngontu.
Ikipa therapy apha Sileku.
Kodwa uTswane sadila kahle nayo kamnandi.
Nyamboze, ndiyakuthanda yazi. Ndiyakuthanda Nyamboze, usichairperson.
Suka Sileku.
Kunjani mngani wami?
Patronize Nyamboza.
Kuhle kuhle hlala kunjani?
Khona kokeli. Hayi.
Ngibambile.
Hayi kwenye indlela.
Ayikho enye indlela.
Iyopholela ezandleni. Uyabona
Yebo.
lapha impandla iciciyelo mase ivelile nje vele ugunda inwele ushaye phansi.
Hayi ukhethile wena ndibuya umva hayi. Konake.
Bye. Good night.